So a few months ago, I made the decision to back the Ayaneo Pocket DS on Indiegogo. To me, this was supposed to be the endgame device. Huge dual screen device with 16:9 and 4:3, flagship power, and an ultra premium build. The Ayaneo Pocket DS was supposed to be the one, but I was quickly met with tons of compromises that I just could not get over at the price point I got it for. So I did what any reasonable handheld gamer would do, use this as an excuse to get this, AYN Thor. So now that it's finally here, I've had some time to play with it. So let's check it out. Did AYN do what Ayaneo couldn't? So before we jump into this review, I just want to call one thing out. I'm not going to be doing a head-to-head comparison between the Ayaneo Pocket DS and the AYN Thor in this video. I will be drawing some comparisons between these two devices based off of my experience having both. However, we're not going to be doing a one-to-one this time. If you guys want to see a head-to-head comparison, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below, and we'll make sure to get that out for you guys. So for now, let's get back to the AYN Thor. So I picked up the Pro model, which is 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. Now, as far as the colorway is concerned, rainbow was for me the only real way to go. I'm sorry, for some reason, I just can't shake this color. I think the atomic purple looks sick, but for me, this colorway just pulls me in. I mean, to be fair with you guys, if you're subscribed to this channel, which if you're not, red button down below, this is a colorway that you're going to see a lot on this channel. So stay tuned because there are other devices that are coming and they may or may not be in this colorway. So let's do a quick rundown of the specs. The AYN Thor is rocking a 6-inch 1080p AMOLED display at the top, which is capable of running up to 120 Hertz. The bottom display is a 3.9-inch, also AMOLED display, which is capable of running 60 Hertz. Now, there is an important caveat to note here that unlike the Ayaneo Pocket DS, you can run the top screen at 120 Hertz without having to turn off the bottom display. Now, there is a small little issue with this, is that if you're running the top screen at 120, the bottom screen will suffer from some screen tearing. I first noticed this when I was playing Pokemon Heart Gold. The transition between ending the battle and returning to the overworld, it seemed to have this weird transition to it. It didn't look as smooth as it usually would. And then also when scrolling, when I'm doing some like aggressive scrolling to get to like the bottom of a page or the top of a page, you can definitely see the screen tearing there as well. So that is something that's important to note, that while it does have the dual AMOLED and you can run the top screen at 120 Hertz with the bottom screen on, you are going to experience that issue. Now, hopefully they fix this in some sort of software release later on down the line, but that's what we have for now. Continuing down with the specs, since I have the Pro model, this does come with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. Now, there is a light version of the AYN Thor that comes with the Snapdragon 865, which I believe is the same processor that came out in the RP5, which is plenty capable. Now, you will be limited in some games that you can run on that thing, but if you're looking for just DS and 3DS games, I think that the Snapdragon 865 is good enough. Now, it is worth mentioning that I don't know if that light model is still available. Every time I go to the AYN site and look at the Thor, the light version is always kind of X'd out, so you can't select it if you want to make a purchase. I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong or if AYN just discontinued it. So just take that as a caveat that that is the cheapest version of the AYN Thor you can get, but it doesn't seem to be available, at least as of the making of this video. So at its core, this is essentially an Odin 2. It has the same processor, 6-inch display. So they really just remade the Odin handheld into a clamshell, which I love the Odin. I have the Odin 2 Portal, and that thing is probably my holy grail right now. Now, my first impressions when I picked up this device was that it feels very familiar. And the first thing that came to mind for me was the DSi XL. This feels very much like a DSi XL with the exception of the cameras. Now, it doesn't have the ultra premium feel of the Ayaneo Pocket DS with its metal lid and soft touch plastics, but the plastics here don't feel cheap. You have this nice texturing on the outside, and then when you open it, you have something that some people love, some people hate, but the glass front on the bottom. So one thing that I did notice when I grabbed the AYN Thor is that the lid does have a little bit of resistance when you try to press it open. But once you get it past that point, the lid to me feels a little loose. I mean, it's not terrible as if you're just gonna be able to flap it open every single time, but with enough force, you can actually get this thing to open up a pretty good amount. So, I mean, not that we're out here trying to, flip these bad boys out when we're playing them, but it's just something to kind of note here. Now, getting into the controls, this is something that I was really worried about. Now, if you watched my video on the Ayaneo Pocket DS, you know that my biggest issue with it was the controls, in particular, the analog sticks. Now, the analog sticks here are way better, and I mean way better. It's not even close. First, we can talk about the thumbstick caps. These thumbstick caps are so much nicer than what comes on the Ayaneo Pocket DS. They have this like rubbery finish to it. It has a convex shape to it. And then around the edge, it has this like knurling. So it's textured as well. So it doesn't feel like your finger's just gonna slip off when you're playing the game. The second thing is how recessed these thumbsticks are. Now, these are still recessed just like the Ayaneo Pocket DS, but the difference is that they didn't recess them that much. Now, I don't know how deep the difference is between the Ayaneo Pocket DS and the AYN Thor, but it feels like to me that AYN just really hit the sweet spot with how recessed they made these sticks. Now, I'm not sure if it has to do with the height of the thumbstick caps, but I don't feel like I'm digging my finger into a hole when I'm playing a game on this device. Now, promise, that's where we're going to stop with the Ayaneo comparisons. The rest of the controls are really nice. You have a standard D-pad, very similar to what comes on the RP5, and the buttons are roughly the same. I would like to say that the face buttons on the Thor are a little quieter than on the RP5. Not that they're from the same company. I have seen that there could be some affiliation between the two. I'm not sure, but the face buttons and the D-pad are really nice. You do have a home button and a back button, which can be used to obviously get back home or to go back to a previous page. I did find these buttons more useful when navigating the bottom screen, because on the bottom screen, you don't really have a means to get out of an application like swiping up. So you have to use these buttons to get out of the application, or maybe the AYN button, which is in the middle, very reminiscent to the 3DS XL, and go to the tasks and then close out the applications that way. Now, as far as the bumpers and the triggers are concerned, the bumpers feel just fine. There's plenty of travel. They're pretty clicky. Now, the triggers function well, but I'm just not crazy about the shape of them. As you can see, the shape of these is kind of abruptly cut off, so it doesn't have that curvature that you would expect to see out of most handheld triggers, where they kind of have an additional curvature that goes into your finger, so you can comfortably rest your fingers on those triggers. The Thor here kind of misses the mark in that regard, because they give you a little bit of a curvature, but it feels kind of sharp to put your fingers on it. So they don't feel terrible, but I just don't like resting my fingers on them, because it feels kind of like I'm hanging my finger off of a shelf rather than a slope. Now, the last thing with regards to the hardware is going to be the ergonomics of this device. And I'll be honest with you guys, this thing is flat. This thing does not have any ergonomic humps like many other handhelds have. It's very much like the DSi or the 3DS, where it's a flat back, nothing fancy on it. So while it is very flat and it doesn't have any ergonomic humps, I don't find that to be an issue. This device is so small and so light that it really doesn't make too much of a difference to have the ergonomic humps or not. Now, we'll say that this suffers from the usual issue where it kind of has this stacked analog to button situation going on here, and we get it. It's not going to be like the Retroid Pocket Flip, where they can kind of offset the analog sticks to be a little bit more comfortable, because of the fact that we have this screen in the middle. Now, it's not terrible because of the fact that the device is so light. I don't mind shifting my hand just a little down to get it, because if I have my hand in the same position that I usually would play this game in, and I try to play with the D-pad, it just feels like I'm cramped down here. So nature of the beast when it comes to this. However, what I do like that AYN does is that they do sell grips for their handhelds. So with a grip attached, you can kind of shift the way you hold the device, and it doesn't make for a cramped feeling when you're playing with the Thor. So I would highly recommend that if you're going to play D-pad centric games to just get the grip. The grip is like 12 or 13 bucks, so it's not too bad, and you can probably get a deal where you can get the grip and the case that's compatible with the grip for a pretty good deal. But I feel like the grip is a must if you're going to play some D-pad centric games on here. So when it comes to the software, the AYN Thor is running Android 13. Now, they do have their own proprietary launcher called Odin Launcher, but I've just kind of stuck with the stock Android experience. It's something that I actually preferred, and they do it pretty nicely here. When it comes to Android on dual screen devices, it's pretty standard and pretty simple. The top screen is where you have your home screen, you have pages that you can swipe left or right on, you swipe up, and then you get to your app drawer. On the bottom screen, it's primarily just an app drawer. Now you can swipe through it and find your apps there. I did find a really weird quirk where not all of my apps show up on the bottom screen's app drawer. It feels like it's hiding some of my apps from me. So in some cases, you do have to search for the application you may be looking for because it may not show up on that bottom screen. But just know that the app does in fact exist. Now, there is an additional function to the bottom screen. If you hit the AYN button, it's going to give you kind of like a menu bar where you can see the statistics of your device, what frame rate you're running on the top screen, various different settings that you can go ahead and select and change on the fly. It does have a task button. If you press that, you're able to close out any applications that are currently running, whether it be on the top or bottom screen. And then you can also select the modes. Now, one thing that I do really like about this screen in particular is that it gives you option not only to set the screen brightness for the top and bottom. You can set the top and bottom screen brightness to be the same and manipulate both at the same time or independently. But the biggest win here is the volume for both the top screen and the bottom screen. Now, just to clarify, I'm not saying that the top screen and the bottom screen have their own independent speakers. What I'm saying is you can adjust the volume of the content being displayed on either or. So if you're watching maybe a YouTube video at the top, playing some retro games at the bottom, you don't have to deal with the fact that you can't change it and have to listen to both at the exact same volume. You can go ahead and lower the volume on the bottom screen and increase the volume on the top screen so you can hear your content and still play your games. Otherwise, the experience is pretty straightforward. You click on an app on the top screen, it opens on the top screen. You click on an app on the bottom screen, it opens on the bottom screen. Now, when it comes to playing dual screen games on this device, it was actually super simple. I didn't have to do all the setup that I had to do with the Ayaneo Pocket DS. Things like Melon DS worked right out of the box. I had to tweak certain things to make the screens a little bit bigger on the top and to get rid of the secondary screen on the top screen. But after doing a few tweaks, it worked almost instantly. The same thing with Azahar for my 3DS emulation. I just clicked on the app and selected a game. I really didn't have to set anything up outside of just increasing the resolution of the game. So that was a real quick and easy process. It was actually surprising. So let's talk gaming performance now. This device is running the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, a really powerful chip that we've seen in the Odin 2 line of handhelds. So if you already have an Odin 2 device, you're gonna be able to run the same games you were running on that on the AYN Thor. Now, I was able to run up to PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Dreamcast very smoothly on this device. The only device that had some issues, as usual, is gonna be emulation. I ran a few games on Eden and I was able to see anywhere between 30 and 60 FPS depending on the game. Now, one of the things I quickly try to test out whenever I get one of these handhelds is my Steam library. I am running GameHub Lite and this thing took it like a champ. I ran games from 720p up to 1080 without an issue, 60 FPS, 120 FPS. Obviously, depending on the title, I had no problem getting consistent frame rates out of this device. Everything kind of just works, especially when I was playing my DS library. I mean, playing Pokemon Heart Gold on this device was phenomenal. I mean, especially when you have scenes that use both displays at the same time, the color saturation, the brightness, the darks, the lights, it all looked extremely good. So where do I stand with the AYN Thor? And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I like this device a lot. Yes, the screens are smaller, but it didn't make that much of a difference to me, especially once I got it in hand. The fact that I have dual AMOLED displays, the bottom display doesn't have any glaring issues like screen bleed. It really does make for a better overall experience. The second thing is the controls. The controls just feel that much better to me. I mean, not having to feel like I'm digging my thumb through a hole just to get to the analog stick is night and day difference, and the thumbstick caps are just phenomenal. The entire gaming experience on here is just great. Now, I guess the big question here is this an end game device? I want to say that for a lot of people, this is an end game device. I mean, unless you're looking for power to play games that you otherwise couldn't play, this device covers a lot of the bases. You have a really nice compact solution where you can play tons of games. You even have the capability of playing some Switch games, your Steam library, along with your entire retro library. This kind of makes it a no-brainer. So for a lot of people, I can definitely see this being an end game device. Now for me, it's really hard, right? Because I have an Odin 2 Portal, and for me, that handheld is just perfect. There's so much more to like about that handheld. I mean, I do appreciate having the dual screens on the Thor, but the Odin 2 Portal is just, it's just got that little bit of extra goodness to it. The thumbsticks are in the right place. Everything is easily accessible. It's nice and comfortable. I can play all the games I want to, including twin stick shooters, first person shooters, and not have to compromise my grip in any way. So that to me is always going to be an end game device. But for me, the AYN Thor is going to take a special place in my rotation of handhelds. The RP5 is usually the quick grab, compact device that I can just take anywhere with me. I mean, with the grip, without the grip, this device is just perfect for that. It's small, compact, I can play tons of games on it. So that's why I like this device a lot. But after getting the AYN Thor, I'm going to be hard pressed to ever really pick up the RP5 again, because this covers a lot of the same bases. I mean, the only thing the RP5 to me has that the AYN doesn't is the fact that the D-pad is on top. That's really the biggest drawing factor to me to the RP5, is having the thumbstick on top. So, I mean, maybe I didn't bench it entirely because I do still have it, right? I might as well play it. But this device is going to be replacing the RP5 in many cases as my go-to compact device, so I can take my gaming on the go. So what do you guys think of the AYN Thor? Did you guys pick one up, or are you still deciding? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the content, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more handheld focused content. Thank you guys again for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.